Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the November 4th, 2025 County Council regular meeting. Tonight's meeting is in hybrid format with council presenters and public participation in person or on Zoom. Attendees can participate virtually by computer or other device, and phone lines are also available. Public comment will be accepted at the beginning of the meeting on topics that are not on tonight's agenda. Comments on agenda items will be taken when that item is discussed during the meeting. During public comment, Ms. Madison will look for virtual attendees that use the raise your hand feature on Zoom or *9 on the phone line. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes or as otherwise directed and state your name before making comments. Virtual commenters should include their name on Zoom so that they can be properly addressed. Comments should be addressed to me, the chair, and should be focused on topics, not on individuals. Our goal is to complete the meeting no later than 10 p.m., but we'll check our progress earlier than that with that goal in mind. Is Councillor Haveman online? All right, would you let the record show that we have 6 councillors present in chambers and Councillor Haveman online? If you all are willing and able, please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, that brings us to the public comment section of the agenda that's reserved for comments from the public on items that are not on tonight's agenda. Do any members of the public present wish to make a comment at this time? Not seeing anyone in the room. Ms. Madison, is there anyone online?
There is, Chair. If you'd like to make public comment, please use the raise hand feature. Chair, I'm not seeing any hands raised.
All righty, thank you. We will move on to item 4, approval of the agenda. I don't have any changes tonight, so is there a councillor willing to approve the agenda as presented? Councillor Hand?
Thank you, Chair. I move that council approve the items on the consent agenda as presented.
Not consent. Regular agenda.
Oh, I'm sorry, on the wrong one. Oh, I move to approve the regular agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
So I have a motion from Councillor Hand and a second from Councillor Neil Clinton. Any discussion? Can I have a roll call, please?
Councillor Haveman?
Yes.
Councillor Righty?
Yes.
Councillor Hand?
Yes.
Chair Call?
Yes.
Councillor Rigor?
Yes.
Councillor Herman?
Yes.
Councillor Neil Clinton?
Yes.
The motion passes 7-0.
All right, let the record show the motion passed unanimously. We're on to item 5, presentations, proclamations, and recognitions. Item A, 19742-25, proclamation designating November 4th through the 11th, 2025 as Operation Greenlight for veterans in Los Alamos County. And Councillor Rigor will read this proclamation.
Whereas the residents of Los Alamos County have great respect, admiration, and gratitude for all the veterans who have selflessly served our country and this community in the armed forces. And whereas Los Alamos County believes specific recognition should be granted for the contributions and countless sacrifices of those who served by placing themselves in harm's way for the good of all to ensure the freedoms and way of life enjoyed by our citizens. And whereas veterans continue to serve our community in the American Legion, Veterans of Foreign Wars, religious groups, civil service, and by functioning as county veteran service officers in 29 states to help former service members access more than $52 billion in federal health, disability, and compensation benefits each year. And whereas an estimated 20% of service members will transition to civilian life in the near future, and studies indicate that 44 to 72% of service members experience high levels of stress during their transition to civilian life and are at a high risk for suicide during their first year after military service. And whereas the National Association of Counties encourages local governments to recognize Operation Greenlight for Veterans, a nationwide effort uniting counties to support military veterans and raise awareness around the unique challenges faced by many veterans and the resources available to assist them and their families. Now, therefore, on behalf of the Council of the Incorporated County of Los Alamos, I hereby declare the week of November 4th to 11th, 2025 as Operation Greenlight for Veterans in Los Alamos County, and encourage our citizens in patriotic tradition to recognize the importance of honoring all those who made immeasurable sacrifices to preserve freedom by displaying green lights in a window of their place or business during this week to salute and honor the service and sacrifices of those who transitioned from active service, dated this 4th day of November 2025.
Thank you, Councilor Rigor. Elateria, did you have anything you wanted to say? You don't have to. All right, let's do a photo. And this is Eleuterio Garcia he's a representative of the Veterans of Foreign Wars Post 8874. And I don't know the other gentleman's name, but
On behalf of all the veteran community of Los Alamos, I wish to thank the council and the county for your recognition. You have always been very supportive of veterans in this county. We also like to say that we are hosting our Veterans Day ceremony on November 11th at 11 a.m. You're all welcome to attend. We'll have a luncheon at the VFW afterwards. Thank you very much. Now, Victor.
Victor Valenzuela. I used to be the commander at the VFW there, but I am so grateful that the community has come together in the years past and everything, that because when I left Vietnam, we didn't have anybody out there to welcome us home except the family. We had a lot of problems coming home, but you know what? After all these years have gone by, everything has changed. Everybody has complimented us. Everybody has done what they could to, and in his words, to make up for those years that we were not in good hands. But anyway, I'm glad that I served the country, and I'm proud that I am a U.S. citizen. I'm proud that I'm here in Los Alamos. This is a great community. I've been here about 35 years or so, and I enjoy it. And thank you again. I appreciate your honors, and my neighbor, Linda, my friend over there, Randy, play basketball against each other, and he's a beast. Anyway, thank you. I appreciate it, and good night.
thank you. Thank you all very much. See y'all Tuesday. All right, we're going to move on to item B, 19743-25, a proclamation designating November 29th, 2025 as Small Business Saturday in Los Alamos. And Counselor Hand will be reading this proclamation.
Thank you, Chair. Whereas small locally owned businesses in Los Alamos are vital to our county's economic health, creating 62% of net new local jobs, according to the U.S. Small Business Administration. And whereas purchases made at locally owned businesses generate significantly greater economic returns for the community than those made at nationally owned establishments. And whereas Small Business Saturday is an annual celebration that highlights the importance of our local small businesses and their essential role in a thriving economy. And whereas this day encourages residents to shop locally at the start of the holiday season and enjoy the unique products, services, and experiences available only in our community. And whereas our small businesses need our support now more than ever, and the holiday shopping season is critical to their continued success and growth. And whereas Small Business Saturday also provides a tax-free opportunity to shop local, as the state of New Mexico suspends collection of gross receipts tax on qualifying purchases, and we proudly join the Los Alamos Chamber of Commerce in celebrating and supporting our local entrepreneurs and small business owners. Now, therefore, on behalf of the Council of the Incorporated County of Los Alamos, I do hereby proclaim Saturday, November 29th, 2025, as Small Business Saturday in Los Alamos County, and encourage all residents to support our small businesses and merchants by shopping locally on this day and throughout the year. Dated this 4th day of November, 2025, and signed by Teresa Cole, Chair of the Los Alamos County Council.
Thank you, Counselor Hand. Sandy Jones from the our Chamber of Commerce will be, do you want to give any statements? You don't have to.
I would just like to thank the council for this proclamation and the support of the small business community.
Thank you very much.
We are having technical difficulties with the Granicus streaming. So if you could announce that if anyone is trying to watch via Granicus, I think the video is not working. I believe the audio is working, but they could switch to Zoom.
Okay, didn't you just sort of make that announcement? Okay, thank you. Thank you for letting us know. All right, we are down to item 6, public comment for items on the consent agenda. There are 4 items on tonight's consent agenda. These items are presented for council approval under a single motion. Are there any members of the public present that would like to make any comments on any of those consent items? Not seeing anyone in chambers. Is there anyone online that would like to comment?
If you'd like to make public comment, please raise your hand. Chair, I'm not seeing any hands raised.
All righty, thank you. All right, so is there a counselor willing to make a motion on the consent agenda? No, Counselor Hand, she already got warmed up on this one.
Yes, thank you. I move that council approve the items on the consent agenda as presented and that the motions in the staff reports be included for the record.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, I have a motion from Counselor Hand and a second from Counselor Neil Clinton. Any discussion from counselors? Not seeing any. Could we have a roll call, please?
Chair Cole,
Yes.
Counselor Rigor,
Yes.
Counselor Hand,
Yes.
Counselor Haveman,
Yes.
Counselor Herman,
Yes.
Counselor Neil Clinton,
Yes.
Counselor Reddy.
Yes.
The motion passes 7-0.
All right, let the record show the motion passed unanimously. On to item 8, business. Item A 20839-25, discussion and possible adoption of the Guajit Pines Cemetery Master Plan. We did just have a presentation on this last week, but if you want to just kind of do a real quick recap, that would be great. Wendy Parker, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Council. So yes, just a really quick recap for you. This was presented by Stephanie Sloan and Greg Graham, and that was presented on October 28th. And they did just a quick presentation of the proposed master plan that we're hoping you will adopt tonight. During the meeting, she covered the master plan and the key issues and objectives in the plan. And our biggest issue at the cemeteries, we all know, is just making sure we have the capacity to serve our residents. And with the master plan as proposed, that will take us into about another 70 years of being able to serve our residents in their final resting places. So it does also outline the capital investments ranging from 3.3 to 6.5 million. I do believe she spent a little bit of time going over that, and I do have that with me tonight if there's any questions on that. The first part that we would attempt to resolve is just the columbariums. So currently we are sold out on columbariums. And that would be the first thing that we would get some construction plans created and get the 2 that we have in the shop right now, get those installed. So we will be able to start servicing people with the columbariums again. We have been telling individuals that are interested to call back in about 6 months, and we'll be able to start selling those at that time. She also talked a little bit about just operational improvements, and also Stephanie Sloan is on the call as well. So if you have any questions, she'll be able to jump in and answer those if it's something specific to the information that she has provided in the master plan. It is a fantastic plan. Staff is really pleased with all the information that they did, not only the community outreach, but just all of the drawings and renderings showing what the cemetery can look like in the next 10 years plus. And I don't know that we would have changed anything after they presented these plans. I think the memorial wall that we've talked about, the scattering areas being prevalent in the cemetery, and just the whole memorial walk and kind of repurposing the veterans area and having a pavilion and all the things that we know is something that is really needed in the cemetery. I think it all speaks for itself. But at this time, I would stand for any questions, and also Stephanie, who I see is online now. If you have any questions, we'll be glad to answer them.
Thank you, Ms. Parker. Questions from counselors? Counselor Righty?
Thank you, Chair Cole, and thank you, Ms. Parker, and for the consultants for the work on the plan. So my understanding is that we have a plan, and there's quite a range in things we might do. And I think I asked last week about, the initial phases and where the funding might come from. So that's not part of this. So we'll have a subsequent action to actually provide the funding for, as you mentioned, those kind of necessary initial steps to make sure that there's space for the columbarium. So do we have adequate funding within the cemetery operating or capital budget for those items?
Yes, Madam Chair, Councilor Righty, we do have the perpetual fund that is, again, that 60-40 split. 60% goes to the fund itself and 40% goes back to operational expenses. And we have a little over $1 million, I believe, so 1.2 million in that fund currently. We would just need a budget adjustment to bring forth to get the approval to make those changes.
Okay. I mean, to my mind, as you mentioned, there are certain kind of obvious things we need to do. So is that coming before our next spring, or when do you plan on bringing that?
Yes, before next spring, for sure.
Okay, great. So beyond that, So the range is like $3 million, right, between the low and the high. Do we have a sense as to where kind of reality is, or do we have a lot of latitude in terms of, you know, the needs we have for people to inter their loved ones there or remember them in other ways, and you know, having that, as you mentioned, the 70, going from the 30 to 70 years. So how much money needs to be spent in the next couple of years versus more like 10 years? Do we have the other $2 to $5 million?
Right. Madam Chair, Council Reddy, we do have the latitude to be able to make those decisions within the master plan.
Okay.
And I think our immediate, decisions would be first the columbarium and making sure that that's accessible and we're able to sell that. And then just secondly, just any of the areas that we deem are most urgent to keep the cemetery operational as it needs to be. And then make any additions as far as just a memorial walk area and additional columbaria. I think those would be our next ones along with the scattering, because we do get asked quite frequently about a place for someone to scatter ashes, and we currently don't have that. And then just having an area for them to recognize and memorialize their folks. And Stephanie, if you want to jump in on any of your thoughts, you're more than welcome.
Sure. And I'll just mention that one of the reasons we had such a wide swath of low and high end of the pricing is, one, reflecting the reality of constructing in Los Alamos, where everything has to get on and off the hill. So there's certainly a premium to that. And also because these are conceptual plans, there haven't been decisions around materiality, et cetera. I certainly think the low end plus or minus 20% is a very achievable number. And especially when you think about the capabilities already present within the county and the team that services Guaje Pines. There's grading and site work, that all of the equipment and I believe talent already exists for you to be able to do grading and not have to use an external firm for that. So I do think that low end is realistic, but again, there are going to be decisions as you go through this and do the design elements of what materials are you choosing, are you doing premium elements, etc.
Okay. I guess I appreciate the outreach that was done. Seems though that unless I'm misreading the survey, it was just over 150 people. Am I wrong?
That is the correct number, which
Okay.
sounds low, but is very good for a cemetery survey, I will say.
Yeah, I would say for this kind of survey, it's not the kind of thing that people are wanting to respond to, right? So we're having to rely on, so that's another benefit of having this plan done, right, is that we have your input. So I think that was the only thing I want to clarify too. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Righty. Other questions from councilors? Councilor Rigor?
As I read it, I mean, this is basically a 20-year plan, right? Because a third of it is for more than 10 years from now. So how long will this serve us? 20 years? Probably. Is that what I'm supposed to read or understand?
Yeah, so just in terms of capacity, there's about 30 years of in-ground casket burial spaces. And then because of the ability to go vertical and the small footprint of cremated remains, there's an opportunity for over 100 years of memorial options for folks choosing cremation. So if you aggregate those together, it's about 70 years of useful life. And then we're forecasting into our budget into 3 buckets. Again, making sure that we don't lose sight of some of the future improvements that will need to occur. The maintenance building is a great example of something that's okay right now, but probably in the next 10 years, you're going to look at needing to sunset and improve that structure.
Yeah, thank you.
Of course.
Thank you, Councilor Rigor. Any other questions from councilors? Councilor Hand?
Yes, I guess my question is, what exactly has changed since you last presented versus what we are seeing tonight? And is our approval, it doesn't, I think as I also heard Counselor Righty mention, the approval doesn't necessarily mean that we're approving the estimate.
Right, Madam Chair, counselors. So nothing has changed from the October 28th presentation to tonight. So October 28th was really just an introduction and a presentation explaining the whole master plan and processes that were gone through to get to the final product. And tonight, we're just coming back before you to revisit and ask that you formally adopt the master plan for us to be able to move forward.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions? Go
I
ahead.
do have one quick question. Thank you, Chair. Regarding the plots that are currently there now, you will continue to, I don't want to say sell, but they'll be available for what they're used for. And that will generate funds. Will those funds then go back into your budget for use?
Correct. Madam Chair, Council, yes. So the way the cemetery is currently structured, any of the sales that we have on the plot sales, 60% of that goes into the perpetual fund and 40% goes back into the operating budget. So right now, we're still continuing to sell the urn burials and also full plot burials. So both in ground, what we are not able to sell right now is columbarium, or above ground. Both of the columbariums that we currently have are at capacity. And so this is the importance of the master plan and working with Sloan Consulting Group and trying to really get something that we know would honor our families in their final resting place and also fit in well with the rest of the cemetery. And the proposal on the master plan for this new 2 columbariums that will go in does exactly that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Question, go ahead, Counselor Herman.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Ms. Parker. How much did this plan cost?
So the plan for Sloan Consulting was $73,000.
Okay. It's amazingly well done and detailed. I learned so much that I had no idea about. So I just was curious about that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from counselors? I just have a quick question. You said 6 months you're anticipating taking requests for columbariums?
Madam Chair, that is correct.
So that would be what, March-ish?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Not seeing any other questions. Are there any public comments on this item? Not seeing anyone in the room. Is there anyone online, Ms. Madison?
If you'd like to make public comment, please use your raise hand function. Chair, there's not any hands raised.
Thank you. Is there a counselor willing to make a motion? Counselor Neil Clinton?
Thank you, Chair. I move that council adopt the Guaje Pines Cemetery Master Plan.
Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion from Counselor Neil Clinton and a second from Counselor Rigor. Any discussion? Seeing any, could we have a roll call, please?
Counselor Herman,
Yes.
Counselor Haveman,
Yes.
Chair Cole,
Yes.
Counselor Rigor,
Yes.
Counselor Neil Clinton,
Yes.
Counselor Righty,
Yes.
Counselor Hand.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
All right, let the record show the motion passed unanimously, and thank you both for your presentations and availability tonight. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, we are moving on to item 9, and it's only 6:30. Council business, under general council business, item 1, 20686-25, discussion and possible action on the 2026 Council Strategic Leadership Plan. Do you want to start or you want me to?
Madam Chair,
Madam
I'll just tee it up for you
Okay.
and then you guys can I'll run with it. So this is a continued conversation and a follow-up to our October 2nd strategic planning session. And every year we revisit our strategic plan. This sets the guidelines for how we bring back our budget guidance, as well as put together some of our priorities under management action plans, as well as now with as the last year set up some metrics and community dashboards. So I will just point out a couple things. One, in the attachment, there are the highlights of, or there are the track changes of what was made during the strategic planning session, and highlighted in yellow are additional changes per the chair and myself and Miss Madison meeting and kind of looking through the additional comments that were made by council when you took the survey. I did email all of you that information from the data from the survey, and those were what we're responding to when we made suggested additional edits. And with that, I'll let you all discuss and hopefully approve so we can move forward to budget guidance. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Yeah, so just to repeat, the items that were in blue were generally what we agreed to during our strategic planning session. And then there were a few changes that are highlighted in yellow that that we thought came from mostly the comments that were submitted by counselors at the beginning, prior to the session. We wanted to make sure we captured the essence of those, but we may not have captured everything. So, or we may not have captured it the way you wanted it. So, questions from counselors? Counselor Righty?
Well, thank you, Chair. Something that I don't know that I necessarily agree with, but some people brought up even last week, was the concept of core and non-core services. That was part of the survey that was done. So I know we recognize the community survey that's now slightly dated, but we didn't say anything about, because that's something, the question that comes up. So without knowing, so that would impose additional things on this plan if we actually were to say, because it helps to prioritize when we have decisions about budget, because we did put in there the thing about, maintaining existing facilities. So cemetery, just heard about that. Seems like a great example of an existing facility that is actually in need of some effort in order to make it last, as it's intended. So I was curious about that. I also saw so I don't know if we want to go through them one at a time. Just have, I don't know if anybody else has. I just, with that coming up with the decision about taxes, I was like, well, what are your core services?
So are you suggesting maybe adding something to the introduction to identify that, generally speaking, or where are you thinking we would put that as part of this?
I think we would have it in the introduction, then we might, because it's right now, it's hard to flip. I wish I had another screen to flip to or should have printed out the copy, but I think it's in the introduction where we have the objectives and the ranking. So there was some, you can hold on to that. I'll flip it back and forth. It's very early, so we have all kinds of time to waste.
You mean spend wisely?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was right now we're referencing the community survey, but it seems like we went through the process of identifying core. So seems like that didn't go anywhere. So anyway, that was my first observation.
Okay. So yeah, where do we have I think it's embedded in one of the statements about maintaining existing facilities. It's not, before we pursue additional, it's not under the intro, I don't think, is it?
No, that was one that it's in the 22.
Yeah, that's what I found.
Yeah, but the intro would identify, in theory, would say if there were whatever, 5 or 7 or 3 or whatever, that we feel like our core, that would make it. Because it was a matter of transparency, because I couldn't reference anything to say, yeah, we had that.
Right.
And
Good
then
point.
there was the other question about how we spend our money and whether or not we find savings. So there is nothing in here about that. So that seems like that's missing, because those are things that came up, I think, more in the discussion afterwards, especially last week, that people, I think, want to know. They want to know, like, what are the core central services you're providing? How are you documenting, evaluating alternatives for cost savings?
You want to take a stab at the core services?
Well, we could use so we do have a delta, I guess, because it's the old 22, not the new 22, but they're about the same. But we ranked them. I think we could just say if there are, I'm not sure there's a real obvious cut line, but there are some that are, I think, viewed to be more core than the rest. So that could be another, we could just use that information, since I guess one of us didn't fill it out, but 6 of us did. So we could.
Okay.
I-
I'm just, the only reason I'm asking is,
So that would, we don't have to go back through the
Right.
process. We already got information. It was before we changed them, and
Mhm.
reword them. That I think doesn't change the intent of them and what people might think is core or not. So that could be, you could just say, here are the ones that, because what we just took the ones from the community survey that were the highest, right? There was probably more of a threshold where you could say, yeah, there's a break between this one and that one. I don't know if that's so much the case, but that might be useful for us, just understanding they're all important, but if we're looking at funding constraints, which we could have, they would be helpful.
Okay. Anyone object to adding something about core versus non-core services to the introduction? Not seeing any objections. Go ahead, Counselor Yang.
Thank you, Chair Cole. I do agree with what Counselor Righty is saying, and I actually felt that it should be expanded. The whole survey effort that we did prior to the strategic planning session in person provided a lot of good information. And, I still feel like information from that effort should be incorporated into the strategic leadership plan, whether it's in the introduction or in other parts of the document. I think it's good information, not only the things that Councilor Righty mentioned, but we talked about what are things that are more in our control or in the county's control versus out of the county's control. We talked about priority areas, and I think all that is really valuable information to determine how we move forward, with proposals for our upcoming budget. And, so that we can be more in sync with how we execute this leadership plan. And if we're going to the effort to develop this survey of the council and ask for our input, and we get some idea of what the standing is, as a group, I think that's valuable information to incorporate it in some way. So I agree with what Councilor Righty said, and I'd like to expand that. Thank you.
Okay. Any objections to having a little bit more information about the survey that was taken and the results of that from the strategic planning effort?
I don't have any problems or issues with the expansion. I just don't want it to be redundant and duplicitous, like we're saying this. I don't want that.
Okay.
One time, one and done.
Okay, other comments? Councilor Reddy, did you have others?
Okay, so was looking at the fiscal stewardship. So I guess maybe we'll see it in front of us here. Okay.
Your quality.
That's one we didn't even edit, right? So quality governance. I don't think that if you were to tell the public we're maintaining fiscal, what does it say, sustainability, that they would immediately know what you meant. And that you could say, yeah, because what does that mean exactly? Maintain. So it's saying, well, we have been sustainable, so we want to maintain it. So, but there's no underlying objective there of, because this is where I would expect to see something about looking alternatives for, actually saving money, or and well, if it's not saving money, we're making much better progress on a goal that is of common interest, like housing or local business. We're not saving money, we're spending money effectively to do that. And we're looking at alternatives that might do A, B, or C, and then we're picking, one of those. So I think that's, to my mind, that there's nothing in here that says that we're doing that. And maintaining fiscal sustainability is on a pretty high level of jargon, which a lot of this is because of what we boiled it down to. But it's not something that you can say, oh yeah, I understand exactly what you're talking about. Because and this plan might be more for us to communicate to the county manager, but the public is in theory reading this and understanding what we're doing. So I just thought, and we didn't change the wording on that one, and I don't remember what comments I made about it, but
So
it just seems like the wording doesn't, because it's like, yeah, there's a bunch of standards you have to comply with. That's true, but you're going to have to do that. So it's not really documenting. So maybe it's intentionally not telling us much, but I just was struggling with that one.
So are you suggesting that we add something about how we make budget decisions or how we make spending decisions?
But we're expecting to see,
Mhm.
alternatives, and that because that was one of the things I read in the letter, is that we have a process for evaluating alternatives. And we just, the cemetery plan is a great example also, because we just approved it. We don't really, it's like, are we supposed to be tweaking it? Are we, so, yeah, we're going to get to the point of the budget options, right, that we'll have, but I was just, that's in essence how it's always you vote yes or no. But there should be some sort of process and discussion for understanding what the alternatives are, which doesn't really come during budget, because the budget again is like, it's one document and we have alternatives. But there aren't like, well, generally that you can do A, B, or C.
True. Although in some cases you can do or not do. There's
You can
your
do or do,
alternative.
you can, yeah, at that level, but
Yeah.
I just think in terms of what if I was a member of the public thinking about this, that's what, when you have your own budget, right? So anyway, that was just, I thought, an opportunity if we wanted to use it to say something like, yeah, it's not just maintaining sustainability, it's continuing, because I think it's, and maybe it was also in the next one, there's an overlap with, I think, efficiency under operations shows up.
Madam Chair, Councilor
Yeah,
Grady,
go ahead.
I just want to suggest that I do think what's intended by sustainability is efficiency, but also there are some under the I mean, I just want to be I don't think we're trying to do the how under this. We're trying to do the what. So I just want to say, like, I think maybe changing that name to identify what you think the what is could be helpful.
Right, because there's the overlap with the next one is effective, efficient, reliable services, which then doesn't include the word efficiency in the actual text, but it's in the title. So I don't know, that was just what, because I understand we're trying to keep this high level, but at the high level, we don't say anything about that. So it doesn't,
So if we add more to under fiscal stewardship, it has to do with how we make decisions, whether or not we see and can evaluate alternatives, how we use funding efficiently. Should we take out the through sound financial management under effective, efficient, and reliable services? Since that would then be redundant with fiscal stewardship? What we were putting under fiscal stewardship.
yeah, I just find those two to be overlapping, and
Should,
we were attempting to unoverlap things at one
Yeah.
point.
that one I didn't catch either. Anyone have an objection to removing, if we add more to fiscal stewardship about how we make budget decisions? Anyone have an objection to removing the words through sound financial management under effective, efficient, and reliable services? Counselor Hand?
I don't have an objection. I just wanted to mention that I do agree with the fact that fiscal efficiency and effectiveness sounds much better than sustainability. And it sounds like Counselor Righty is saying basically through evaluation of alternative methods and approaches to operations and projects. For the fiscal stewardship. So, that basically talks about the process more, that we're going to evaluate alternative methods and approaches.
I think the issue I'm having is the removal of the word sound, because if we don't have sound advice, then what do we have?
The effect taking out through sound financial management.
Yeah, if you take out sound, then what, if we remove that, then what are we basing our decisions on?
Well, yeah, I mean, operational excellence, I mean, we still have to have fiscal stewardship for all of what happens within the county, right?
Right.
So what we would put under fiscal stewardship would still apply to services, effective, efficient, and reliable services. We just would take out the redundancy within that statement since we've already got it under fiscal stewardship. To me, it's obvious we should be doing things through sound financial management, but that's addressed elsewhere.
If it's addressed elsewhere, then again, you know how I feel. If we're not being redundant, let's do one and done.
Okay. So I think it will be addressed under fiscal stewardship with the changes that are being suggested.
I still would like to change the word sustainability, fiscal sustainability, because I interpret sustainability as different than efficiency or effectiveness.
What I would suggest we remove the maintain fiscal sustainability and replace it with something having to do with evaluating alternative methods and approaches or something along those lines. Manager Laurent.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I just don't want to lose track of what we're talking about, fiscal stewardship under good governance. And that has to do with our 10-year projections, our financial policies, our clean audits. So I just don't want to lose. I think that's fine. I'm not suggesting that. I'm just saying that as you word this, I would hope we don't lose the big picture intention of good governance when it comes to fiscal stewardship.
So why not add the end sustainability to the end of that? Because that would then really be applying to the budgetary and financial regulatory standards and what we have to follow. So just put and sustainability at the end of that. Because then it applies to how we do budgeting. But we'll replace the beginning of that with something like evaluate alternative methods and approaches, ensure transparency, and comply with, or something like that. Does that sound like? Sound about right for y'all?
Chair Cole.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. This is Counselor Haveman. I don't understand what that means. Evaluate alternative methods and approaches. I'm not sure how that fits into a high-level strategic plan of the county council. And I worry about getting too much into the how versus the what. And I really don't like wordsmithing a document like this in this kind of a forum. So I don't know. I find this hard to, and granted, I'm not there, but even if I was there, I don't know if it'd make that much different because I'm able to follow it, but I don't get what this means. And I don't see the 2 pages up. I know the other one was on under good governance, I think, where we did just made some changes. And also I just want to add, I feel like I understand fiscal sustainability or financial sustainability. I don't find it to be a nebulous or esoteric topic or wording.
You want to answer that, Counselor Reddy?
Yeah, thank you. I'm trying to put my public hat on in terms of, I mean, I understand we've had a lot of discussion about very high level, not how, but I think we do need to have some indication of what we're expecting. So if we're expecting to see alternatives at some point, we're obviously going to have to vote on something in the end, yes or no. But we're expecting to have at least discussion or presentation of, well, here's some different alternative ways of doing this. And I think that's how we are structuring the meetings. We're expecting to see that in work sessions. We're expecting to see discussion about alternatives. So I don't think that's getting into the weeds of what staff's doing. I think that's what we're trying to do as a council is discuss and run and evaluate alternatives. And it's not down at the nitty-gritty level. It's a very high level, I think. But so I can appreciate that, yeah, but I don't, yeah, sustainability itself is not a highly well-defined term for most people. That we have it later on. We have environmental sustainability. So, and it has certainly, some words have some baggage with them too, which I don't want to get into. But it's, I think that there's, yeah, I'm just making suggestions. If we don't want to change the document, I'm fine. But I think that is the purpose, since we do have time tonight to discuss it, to go through this, and it's something that will be our guiding document for us for next year, and what staff's using to revise the management action plans. So I would kind of expect us to, yeah, and if the language isn't clear, as suggested by Councilor Hand, then maybe we can have some more clear language, or I'm happy with this. I think goes back, technically it's the chair and vice chair and manager that hash it out. Like, guys can hash out many changes or not. Just wanted to, this is my opportunity to give my input. Thank you.
Counselor Haveman, can you see
Yes.
the screen?
Yeah. I see it, and I had my hand raised. Thank you. I'll lower it. I guess what I'm hearing you say then is evaluate alternative methods and or approaches to expenditures and investments made by the county. Is that what we're, but is that what you're saying? Alternative methods and approaches to how we spend our money? So that, for example, if we want to look at ways to make the ice rink available during the winter skating season, we look at different ways to do that. Is that what you're saying? Versus just having one, one solution thrown at us and that's the only option we get. We either up or down it. Instead, we look at various options presented by staff that have different costs and benefits associated with each. Is that what you're saying?
I think that's a fair way to put it. Yeah, so at some level, it's if we have, affordable housing, what are the options? Obviously, we have the affordable housing plan. How are we investing in that? How are we communicating? We looked at these alternatives. In the end, you have to vote for certain projects, but what are the things we've been looking at? I think that's something that I've heard people be interested in, that they see that we're going through and looking at alternatives. Because when we come, like tonight, we have a vote on a plan, just looks like, well, it just passes, right? So we could have the same topic last week and tonight. It just would have been a tiny bit longer because we would have just voted, yeah, we're not going to make changes to the plan at that point. So I don't know. I think, but it's like, well, we have a bunch of different assets. We have kind of a capital asset plan for all the buildings. So I asked was the cemetery actually included in that? I don't think it was. So that's why it was done separately. So again, that's kind of a little bit lack of transparency on how this is all being presented. It's like, where are we here with this item? And we have other things that come up, like, for rapid decisions sometimes, but lots of times we have projects going on for a long time. It's like, I think that just gives a little different impression than just the, sustainability, which we think we know what that means, but anyway, so thank you.
I have a
Councilor Neil
question.
Clinton.
So, and this is a question of ignorance, and I'm still new in learning. So when we get information from staff, we really do depend on them to make the reports. They also include within those reports scenarios, and we can either up or down or say go back and give us something new. So as I'm listening to everybody talk, we as council members don't get into the weeds because we do depend on staff to provide us with that information. So when I see that it says alternative methods, they never bring us one, they bring us scenarios and then we choose. So with that being the case, from their point of view or from the information that we're receiving, it would be maintaining fiscal sustainability because that's their area of expertise and they want to continue doing what they're doing. Even using the example of a cemetery, yes, it was brought outside, but I don't think that it was non-transparent because we had that long hearing last week. They did all of the promoting, having input from community. So it's not that there's been a non-transparency. So I don't see where that comes into play, that it was non-transparent. And again, that's me being very fresh to this board. That's what I see.
So I think the one simple way to put it is that, so the question came up from Councilor Herman about how much this plan cost. So this one in particular was $73,000. But sometimes the plan costs more than that. So we do have staff that are making these evaluations. It's like, well, how much are we outsourcing versus doing in-house? So that's a decision that we're not managing, but that's like, and then what options are they actually looking at? So they did do a low and a high. And at some point, somebody has to decide, well, how much are we investing? The fact that we have, a cemetery, it is basically a singular kind of thing. It's like we have one cemetery, we have one golf course, but then they can go look at the golf course and there were many alternatives considered, right? For that one. But they weren't fundamentally different in that they were, like one was like, we're not going to do this. We're just not going to renovate the golf course. That was never, and that's what some people want us to look at. So at some point, like, what are the alternatives? What are legitimate alternatives? Why are we not looking at that? So I think that we're not going to not have a cemetery, I believe. We've gone forward on that plan. But there's other things that people have asked, like, why are you doing that? But it's, and it's like even the climate action plan, it's got a whole bunch of sub items underneath it. And there's a lot of latitude in how you might do that. And then it's the information and how you're communicating. Yeah, well, what are we spending and what are we saving money? Or are we actually just spending money that's costing us more? Give you a great example of glyphosate. We said, stop using it. Staff said, we warn you that it's going to cost more money. So that was not an efficiency. It would have been more efficient from a cost standpoint, but not from the public concern and health standpoint to continue using glyphosate. So yeah, financial is one part of it, but we don't always get, it's not just one axis. It's not just because we could have said, well, we're not going to raise the tax and we're going to not do these things. But we in essence voted for the budget, which included all these different things in it, including the tax increase and some money for the cemetery and some money for the ball fields, but not necessarily doing everything. So I don't know. I don't know if I'm making any sense in terms of how I think about this, but it's not how I think that I would go about decision making, because there are many axes. It's not just finance. There's other things, and that's kind of what our objectives state. But that's the whole idea of what are core and non-core. If it's having clean audits and financial records every year, that's one thing. How much money does that cost to do? So I don't know. So I thought if we encourage it more in here, then we might see more of it where we can. I understand your position that the staff just kind of look at that and they tell us what the answer is. I think that people are expecting us to be here to represent them and understand what are the options, or do they have other options to do? Do they have to, because we'll be looking at this, the field artificial turf study with what, $40 to $60 million. Well, I think that there is, in essence, embedded in that one, something different than 40 million, right? That we could do. And I think that's what people are expecting us to say, okay, well, we can implement this element because actually what people have asked for is an artificial turf. And then if we need to do something through ADA, well, that then provides another basis for maybe some more funds you have to expend. But do we need to spend 40? I don't know. We haven't gotten there yet, but we'll be just voting on that plan, accepting it. And then people think, well, you're just going to spend $40 million. So that's in essence what I'm getting with this is that, first of all, are we understanding how much money we're investing in alternative analysis? How much of it is done in-house? That'd be what I'd like to know, just as a steward of the finances, what's being spent. So I don't know, but I think it's something that I heard a lot of people concerned about. And I think it bears some kind of attention at this level in order to make sure that we're seeing something next year.
I have a comment. So Los Alamos, it was interesting when we were talking about the ice rink. George Chandler was commenting that when we're looking at costs back in the day, here in Los Alamos, lots of community members actually went and did the work. We are still known to do that here today. Having said that, as a result of doing that, we do have many people who have various areas of expertise who know how to do some things really well, some things they probably shouldn't do, and let someone else do it, which leads me into the in-house versus contracting out. There are some things we could do in-house. We probably shouldn't, because areas of that's not necessarily our area of expertise. So then if we pay the money because we are using an outside contractor, that is their area of expertise. So essentially that saves us money because we are not wasting time because we don't know these things that the experts do. So then the question would be, is it more efficient to have someone with the expertise outside $73,000 or have someone in-house who doesn't know anything about it? Because if they did, they probably would have already done it by now, or they would have made those suggestions by now. And if they haven't, whatever the issue is still needs to be addressed. Still using the cemetery as an example. So while we can have some things done in-house, if those are our areas of expertise, yes, then do that. It's cost effective, it makes sense. If those are not within our areas of expertise, then we should certainly have people who are SMEs in that area handle it and not necessarily us. So that's when you do the price comparison. And I'm thinking that our staff members know who those people are. So that's why they either go to them or they have them bid, and then they choose, and then they, again, synthesize that information and bring it back to us so that we can make the decision on behalf of our constituents.
So I'll make sure you're, okay.
Thank you.
Counselor.
So I'd like to just comment on that. Basically, we're getting into another evaluation of alternative methods because you're talking about in-house versus contracting out. That is why I think this language where we say evaluate alternative methods and approaches is important, because in the case of the cemetery, I don't recall that we saw alternatives. We saw one plan and it didn't change. It was like, this is the plan. This is it. And there were not alternatives. And, there was an estimate, it could be anywhere from $3 to $6 million, but you didn't have any way to look at different alternative approaches or methods to try to achieve a goal with the cemetery. It was one solution. And that's why I think it's important, is that we need to consider a variety of different ways to meet our needs, fiscally as well as, governance.
So it was one solution, but didn't it contain 3 choices?
It had 3 phases, I think.
It's phases. It's not.
Which means you could do 1, stop at 1, go to 2, stop
It's just phases, but it didn't talk about alternative approaches to the cemetery. It was like, this is the solution for the columbarium. This is the solution for this expansion area. This is the solution for that.
So
and they're in phases, and you can decide, oh yeah, we want to do phase 1 and then 2 and 3, or we want to do them all together. But those aren't really different approaches or methods. Those are just the way you are spending the money to get the work done. That's all it is. And regarding what Councilor Ridey is saying, I agree. I'm hearing the same things from constituents. Their views, they want to have council up here to do some evaluation of how we manage, or decide to do our projects and spend our money.
So then do we need staff?
Well, staff is always involved in this, but the fact of the matter is we may get alternatives, or we may be presented methods in certain different projects that are presented to us, but not always. I know that when we were talking about bike routes along Trinity, we had a variety of different solutions that were presented to us, which meant even not having the bikes go along Trinity was one of the solutions or one of the recommendations. So there are a variety of different things, it wasn't just about phasing where, yeah, you're gonna phase, this section of the road and it's gonna cost that much, and then you're gonna go to this other section of the road, it's gonna cost this other amount. That's different. That's phasing. So
But didn't we receive that information in order to make those choices from staff?
we received the estimates, yes, but that it was tied to alternative approaches and methods of still achieving what we wanted to do with trying to create a better corridor for bicycle riders.
So then is it possible in the future that we could ask staff to provide us with alternative solutions and not just one?
Right. That's what we're talking about. Alternative methods and approaches.
So then we're gonna tie it back into if we either use in-house or.
Well, that's just one type of way to look at it. If you're saying that's a method, that may be one method. There may be other methods,
I agree. I agree.
So, but we're identifying that we want to evaluate those different alternative methods and approaches at the right level of what council should be evaluating.
We want to, or we're asking staff to do that?
Well, this document is about what council is
No,
doing.
it's about what we want the county to be doing. I'm not gonna evaluate all alternative methods and approaches, but I expect staff to take that information and to present potentially alternative approaches, or at
Right.
least discuss what was considered or the comments that they received from the public and why they ruled some of those out, which we do get on a lot of projects. We don't get
Right.
it on every project.
But in a sense, we are also evaluating.
Sure,
Because
we could
we're
have
getting
asked,
that all presented to us and we're deciding as a body of council.
we could have
to-
asked, why not do it this way? Why not do this instead? I don't, sometimes we hear that from council and sometimes we don't.
Right.
Manager Loren had wanted to say something. Sorry.
Madam Chair, Council, I just want to say from an operations perspective, I don't have any concerns about this. I think Councilor Haveman made a good clarification on evaluate alternative methods and approaches for expenses and investments, only because that's where the power of council is, whether it's adopting the budget or when you approve a study or you approve a project and I think a lot of that, what you're talking about will bleed into other things about communication or process involvement expectations. So I just want to say from a staff perspective, I don't have any concerns that we would not understand this and the clarity of what you're trying to get to.
Thank you. Do we need to discuss this anymore? This is just page 2. But I mean, if we do, let's discuss it. I mean, it sounds like generally speaking, folks are okay with the change that's showing on our screen.
Chair Call?
Yeah, Counselor Haveman?
Yes, please. So on this line that I see up on the screen, at least under fiscal stewardship, it's currently edited to say evaluate alternative methods and approaches for expenses. My preference is maybe it says and approaches for expenditures and investments, comma, expenditures and investments, comma, ensure transparency and comply with applicable budgetary and financial regulatory standards, and fiscal sustainability applicable. I'm okay with the fiscal sustainability, but if others were in favor of just deleting, we could just end the paragraph with regulatory standards.
I'm fine with leaving it, but
I'm not going to object to the word.
nobody's going to object at this point. I don't know.
And then
Oh, go ahead, Counselor
as
Haveman.
long as I've got the mic, sort of, before you move on, can we go back to page 1, first sentence, I think it was? I think that this is just a stupid little edit. I think it should say blah, blah, blah. Community members reviewed and updated the 2025 strategic plan.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay. Thank you.
Missed that.
All right. That's all I've got so far. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Counselor Herman?
Thank you, Chair. Can we move on to the economic vitality page?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, I
go
thought
ahead,
somebody had
sorry.
a question.
So
Counselor
the,
Ridley, go ahead.
So in the redundancy category, we have intergovernmental, says community partner organizations, and we added a whole new block on partnerships. So I first thought, well, that's fine, but it seems like it. I don't remember. So we didn't talk about this, but we added it, and we already had community partner organizations. So I mean, you could add the whole thing, or you could identify what they are right there, because it is just that list.
I think this was from one of the comments, and I think you're correct. We probably should have taken community partner organizations out of that first statement when we broke out partnership.
I mean, it makes it long. It makes it longer, but it actually we're just fostering. It's a very transactional way of putting it. You know that because it says we're identifying these partnerships that are in support of what we need. So I don't know. I don't. So I you could just better identify the partner organizations in the previous one, but maybe if we're just trying to really make it maybe slightly more neutral, we're trying to work together. I mean, that's the whole reason of partnerships is that it's not just having to do with us.
Madam Chair, my recollection on this one was that community partners don't fit in with the title intergovernmental, tribal, and regional, and that there wanted to be something that focuses on the schools, the education, healthcare importance of those local partnerships that they, because just they get kind of buried under community partners under a title that didn't talk about local partnerships.
Okay,
that's what I recall
yeah,
too.
yeah. The collaborating problem solve is not transactional. Just observing that it's a more transactional thing with partners than we have with, but that it's fine if we want to keep it that way, because it's basically collaborating problem solve with all these groups, and you could just add partnerships, take out the and, regional relations, community partners. That we would have one less because we consolidated two later on, but that's just, I was just curious about that one.
So what was your suggested change? I know other than taking out partnerships,
The partnerships could be melded with, I understand that maybe it's a mixed bag, but I think the idea is collaborating problem solving with all these groups that include the major employers, the community partner organizations, which are, you know, local education, healthcare, etc. Neighboring pueblos. I guess I fundamentally don't understand why we're just making the wording for the partnerships, and maybe no one else sees it that way, in support of meeting the community's identified essential needs and improvements.
So you want to take out the last part of that?
I think you're doing the same thing with the community partners or in these other groups. You're collaborating and problem solving. So I'm just saying you don't need to have a whole new section on it. Put partners into the title of intergovernment, tribal, regional, and partnerships. And then leave partnerships where it is and add a parenthetical, for example, it's a cleaner way of putting it than adding another thing. But
okay, so rather than pulling out partners because it wasn't addressed in the title, included in the title.
Put it in the title so
and leave it.
Yeah.
And leave it in that statement and don't create a new statement.
Susie's hand.
Anyone else have, okay, was everyone else okay with that? Oh, Susie, go ahead.
I just wanted
Counselor
to,
Habman.
thank you, Chair. I just wanted to say that I concur with Counselor Wrighty's comments and suggestions on this.
Okay. We'll recombine it. All right, anything else on the first 2 pages? Quality governance or the summary at the beginning, introduction? All right, and then we did make the one change under operational excellence. We removed the through sound financial management since we just addressed that. Anything else under operational excellence that anyone wants to change or thinks needs to be changed? Not seeing anything. So we get down to economic vitality, and there's a couple of changes here. I'll address the
Sure.
easy, yeah.
Oh.
Counselor Herman?
Thank you. Under local business, the new change that's in there, I do like. The only thing I would comment on is it seems like that's how the businesses deal with us. And I would like to say something about supporting the business community or, create a business friendly environment or something about us supporting the small business community.
So you could add that to the beginning of that statement,
Or
support.
the end, establish tools, blah, 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 and approval requirements at the end there to create a more business friendly environment or, support the small business community, however you want to phrase that. But I'd like to see something in there about the county.
Small
wanting-
business or local business?
Pardon?
Small business or local business?
Either.
Local is broader.
Madam Chair, may I make a comment?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm the one that kind of asked to revisit this one, and it's specifically because I think there's frustration from a staff perspective on the expectations that are coming at staff, and it goes to what is our role and what is our sphere of influence, in control, out of control. And I think historically some of those words of, retain businesses or support is interpreted in a way that we can't meet their expectations. So I would just ask that you take that into consideration as to what you mean when you say support or business friendly, because I think what's possible and what's expected may not match.
So I'm not hearing that to put that back in. What I think, and actually what I would suggest is to start the edited statement with support the local business community by establishing blah, blah, blah. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Then you have the support for the local business community up front. Counselor Weaver, were you going to say something?
Don't you want to say promote the small business community?
Promote is very different than supporting, in
Yeah,
my
it is.
opinion. So why do you prefer promote? Or what is it that you see different in promote?
I want to make a stronger statement than support.
What would we do differently? We or the county, being the county, not the council necessarily.
Promote the small business community.
Promoting to me means that we're going to do advertising for them. We're going to do, that's what promotion means to me. And I don't think that's what the county necessarily does.
Agreed.
As the only person still working on this council, because I hadn't gotten to where y'all are yet for retiring. When I think of promoting, I definitely think of that cost money. Because when I'm collaborating with another business and we're promoting each other, I'm investing in them some kind of which way, and it may be monetary. It may be using their credibility. They're using mine. That's what I think of when I think of promoting.
So you're
Supporting
arguing
is very different.
Well, that's what I mean when I say promoting, yeah. There's a context there of perhaps financial support, yeah.
So, again, being a small business person in Los Alamos, I can assure you that in all the time that I've been in business for off and on 25 plus years, everything I've funded and promoted has come out of my pocket, not the county. Now, I have been in the chamber and left my information there, but I paid for it. They just provided the space for it. So that's more of support, not necessarily promoting.
Exactly.
Because I paid to be in the chamber so that they could promote my stuff.
But I think I meant changing that tone. I mean, that's, we're too restrictive to just say support. But I don't think I have any backers for that phrasing. So.
I'm not sure there's, except for LIDA, I don't think there's much legal backing for that.
Example,
That's
LIDA.
the problem. Well, LIDA is a tool and a process that provides support to local businesses. It's not something, I don't know. I mean, it sort of does help promote the business in a way, but I just look at the word promote very differently.
Yeah, that's slippery. I don't know, foster an environment to where the local business community can thrive. I'm not sure what it needs to be, but I just feel like there needs to be something there that shows that we're trying to help.
So can I go back to the community survey? I mean, so I understand the difficulty and the frustration in trying to achieve what was previously written, but what did we ask people in the community survey, and why did they want us to work on it? And I believe that they did not want us just to work on, I mean, certainly the county regulatory and approval requirements comes up, but I think they actually want us to be somehow promoting, and we do ask for changes to LIDA occasionally, right, or clarifications. So yeah, that, I mean, that can be something, initiatives like what are the boundaries? We find out what other communities are doing. I think that, I mean, we do have the issue with gross receipts tax. So that's came up repeatedly. You're killing local business as opposed to expanding it, right? I don't believe we are, but this statement is entirely neutral about improving the economic conditions, which I think it used to have, like in the old plans, it used to have like a landfill focus, like supporting landfill was in there. And we've taken that out for years now. But I mean, I looked at the wording and I was just kind of like a little bit surprised that it was, yeah, that's because I think, well, it must have been having to do with the in controls like that statement is very much in our control.
And
but I
The
think if we don't
revised
have,
statement or the
yeah,
original?
but the statement that changed, that we changed, that was changed to, that we have before these edits. And I think whether you put, support, the supporting is in there twice. It's like support businesses to like supporting navigation. So anyway, I mean, we're not here to wordsmith. The concept is, are we trying to just focus on businesses navigation with the county's systems? Or my understanding is that we've actually allocated money through MRA, both White Rock and downtown East Los Alamos, and LIDA in general, and then LIDA for retail, which I think we're still doing anyway, even if that, because that's, as I say, well, maybe it's hidden in there. It's part of that, it's a process, but it gives us no chance to communicate. Yeah, you look at this and you could say, that's why I keep saying, you look at that and you say, yeah, I understand you're supporting local business. These are the things you're looking at doing. The wording that we had, it was like hidden in there. So I think there are legal things that we're looking at doing and continuing to do. But anyway, that I had noted the new language was not something, yeah, maybe most businesses don't expect to see. But we have this whole plan of spending, money, LEDA monies. So it should say something. It seems like it should say something about that.
Yeah.
Because we are able to do some things. There's limitations, right? But
So you want to give examples of tools and processes? Is that what you're suggesting?
well, I kind of like the language we had before. I understand the issue with it, but that's kind of like, I think that's what people are expecting to see.
I do too.
When you look at the community survey, I don't think they're saying, oh, well, because that'll come up too. It's like you'll read the comments on Facebook posts and it's like someone will bring up, permitting eventually. Well, that's not like the first thing that comes up. I mean, I hear about it from people also that are like, a contractor doing work for me. I hear about it. So I,
How about combining the two? Saying encourage blah, blah, blah for business growth by establishing tools and processes that are clear and support businesses' navigation through county regulatory and approval requirements.
Sure.
I like it.
You live with that?
Vote is more what I intended. Obviously, it's.
Well, now you've got
encouraging
the retention of existing
Stronger.
businesses, facilitating the startup of new businesses, and assisting in opportunities for business growth by establishing tools and processes that are clear and support businesses' navigation through county regulatory and approval requirements.
Yeah.
Does that work for you? I know it's
Well,
not
I'll let
perfect.
it all go. Yeah, but I
No,
wanted to
be-
make the point about the
You
change.
want
of
the
tone.
promotion. Okay.
Okay.
Got that?
Chair Cole, before
Counselor Hadley.
whoever's editing starts deleting,
Mhm.
I'm not sure. I think this is a quick decision. First of all, I want it to be something that staff feels like they can execute on behalf of council's, strategic objectives. And it feels like we're also limiting ourselves if one were really to step back and look at this proposed new statement. To me, it says you're going to encourage retention of existing businesses, facilitate the startup of new ones, and assist business growth by establishing tools and processes that are clear and supporting. So it kind of makes it sound like we're gonna encourage, facilitate, and assist only by doing this one thing, only by establishing tools and processes that are clear that support business navigation through our approval requirements. You're basically saying we're going to help the business community by helping you navigate our bureaucracy is kind of what it feels to me like this is about to be edited to. And I don't think that I'm fully on board with that. Without a doubt, we want to help retain existing businesses and we want new ones to have opportunities to get established here. But I do feel like we are limited in what we can do in that. And setting false expectations in our strategic plan of all places, I don't think is helpful. So I'm for some of the things that have been said, but I'm not for the new sentence that was just proposed.
You prefer the old new sentence that was proposed?
Or some combination thereof. It's hard to say we're not for supporting, the encouragement of retaining existing businesses. I mean, that kind of goes without saying. And I'm okay with it still being in here. But I don't like adding it to the second sentence. Because the risk of repeating myself, I feel like it says that we're only going to do those things, try to help achieve those goals on behalf of the business community by helping them navigate our bureaucracy, of our. So
Well,
I
it's
don't.
partly that. We're also going to
I know, but we
establish
do other
tools and
things
processes.
too.
But it's two different things in that second sentence. It's establishing tools and processes that are clear and supporting the business's navigation through the bureaucracy.
Yeah, but the establishing tools and processes that are clear, that's really administrative, and having a good website that says you do A, B, C, D to get your business permit, and you do X, Y, Z to do, this thing, and
Actually, it
apply
includes
for
LEDA.
to apply for LEDA, assistance. I don't know. I'm okay with putting that first sentence back in if staff is, but if staff isn't, then I think we just need a little bit more conversation on this.
Manager Laurent?
Madam Chair, certainly we've been under this. We don't have a problem with the first sentence. I'm just happy to be able to even, be able to raise the issue with you and have you discuss it. I do think some of the things that maybe I'm hearing might be missing in this, in my mind, were also covered under downtown revitalization. And I know we've gone back and forth between adding local business to some of these other categories in the description versus having a separate category that says local business, because I know that there are other categories where that also we want to be thinking about, and our local businesses and our efforts are part of those topics as well. So I think, I'm not sure exactly where you want to go with it, but I just appreciate the conversation.
I agree. We do use promote twice down below in other topics. I just feel like we need to say something about how we're trying to create an environment where local businesses can thrive. It has to be something where, I think the community wants us to help with this, and I think we need to say that.
You want to
Okay,
just say
Chair
create?
Cole, sorry to interrupt again, but I feel like what Councilor Herman just said, I feel like that's what's said in the introductory statement describing economic vitality, right at the top. Councilor Herman said thrive, so we could add the word thrive, but diversify, develop, grow, sustain, flourish. Those are all kind of synonyms to thrive.
Since we're all having so much fun, I want to throw in that I actually do like the collapsing of the two sentences. And I know that it may seem limiting and restrictive, but I also think it's easier to point to. These are the things that we know county will do. They will do these things because Councilor Righty brought up the permitting process. It's a template. You follow these things, then you can get your permit. That's what we said we would do. Now, I do agree that there should be some latitude because there are other things that we're doing and we're fostering. But regarding this portion, I do like the collapsing of the two sentences.
Go ahead, Councilor Hand.
Thank you. I have a couple of comments. First of all, in the second sentence, we talk about small business, but it's under the category of local business. I think we're excluding more business by just calling out small business in the second sentence. The other thing is I'd like to know how the county is encouraging the retention of existing businesses, especially if we're going to say by establishing tools and processes that are clear, blah, blah, blah. How is that encouraging the retention of an existing business?
I guess I'd ask you, how do you expect the county to encourage the retention of existing businesses?
I don't think that, basically, I'm asking, where does the county think that they're able to help an existing business stay?
That's one reason.
How are they doing that? I don't think the county is doing that.
I think that's one reason we took that out.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't clear.
That's what I'm
that
saying.
The county had a
I mean,
role.
that's the reason why I bring up the question, is because I don't think the county is encouraging the retention of existing businesses.
So I've had 3 businesses in 3 states. And as I think about that timeline, whatever service I was offering, I saw the need for the service, which is why I provided it within the space. So I think where I'm a little confused is, as a small business person, when you bring whatever it is you bring to market, it's because there's a need for it within the public. And that can be within your local area or nationally or even internationally. And as I think about each of the cities, what did they do? They made sure my paperwork went through. They made sure that I paid my taxes, that my business license, my registry. That was their job. That was it.
So that's the facilitating the startup of a new business. But what are they doing for the retention of an existing business?
Exactly. And then for the retention,
Yeah.
my job was to make sure that people wanted to come back. So it wasn't the county's job to promote that.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
It was not their job.
Exactly. That is what I'm saying. By asking the question, I'm posing that to you because I don't believe the county does anything to encourage the retention of an existing business.
Does anything or has responsibility to do anything?
Well,
are you saying?
if they are doing anything, I'd like to know what it is.
I'd like to follow that same question though, then what is the expectation that small businesses have from the county to, I don't know, that's where I'm lost.
Well, from what I'm hearing just from some of the discussions that we've had from citizens, it's through funding, like LEDA.
I get back to what I said before, everything has been funded by me in all 3 states.
Right, but we have businesses that are coming to council and saying, I want funding through LEDA. And that's why we have the retail LEDA now.
So that's one way to encourage retention. By using, if that business needs or wants to expand and can meet the leader requirements, they could apply and.
Madam
Yeah,
Chair,
go ahead.
I just want to be a little careful with that, just because the word retention in LEDA is got to do with once you expand and provide the economic benefit in exchange for the public contribution. The retention is to retain the expansion or the additional jobs through the participation of agreement. So that retention is not in the same vein of I'm going out of business and I need this funding in order to keep me in business. I do think there is a retention element of if a business is expanding and they're outgrowing, and we don't want them to outgrow to another community, we want to keep the gross receipts tax or the property tax or whatever it is here in town, then that is a retention of a different nature. But I will just say, I do think it needs to be said, I don't think the county has a tool to help a business who is struggling to keep their doors open. I do not know that we have a tool at our disposal. The closest we had was our ARPA funds that we provided, and that was an emergency response, and that was federal funds specifically for that. And we chose, council supported prioritizing funneling that money to local business and not using it for county operations.
Sure. Go ahead, Councilor Reddy.
So, yeah, I think it is much more difficult on the, and we're not getting in the details, but something I remember bringing up a long time ago was the buy local or buy regional. So that could help with business retention. That would be a strategy that we might see implemented. We have Main Street. Main Street is an initiative that we are a partner. So the county, we have 3 counselors go to those meetings basically every month. And there's other staff department directors that go and talk about projects. So part of it's to coordinate, but it's also intended to help drive business. So it is intended to be transactional. They're supposed to be generating more income and taxes for the community. The retail LIDA is one where it gets paid off. It's got a finite 5 to 10 year period usually, where you had like an empty mall and then it's now got businesses in it, right? And then you can show the delta, a pretty easy delta to show. So it's not, if you just have a business and, it's much more difficult to qualify for the retail LIDA. You have to be doing expansion for that, but there are initiatives that you could do. They may not be hugely effective, but it's like, well, it's questions come up about that. There's like the storefront, occupancy issue, right? Of having like lab contractors or subcontractors in retail space that's come up lots of times in the past. There's the vacancy ordinance. There's all kinds of things about the revitalization. It could relate to other things, but it is much more difficult for an existing business without them changing like their market or something or expanding to qualify. So I think I agree. I mean, I think, in terms of being clear to the public and everybody, the expectations, the retention would be much more difficult. But I mean, the metric I had suggested was just, we're tracking GRT. So we know what the GRT is for different codes, business codes. So we can track that over time and you can see what the difference is. I think that is something people brought up last week. So is the increase in the tax actually decreasing or not? Is it having no effect on that baseline? I think we need to know things like that. So we're not getting in the details, but I think we do want to know. We want to know what are the taxes coming in from local businesses, and you can, I think, easily identify the codes. Now, we don't know if people file their taxes 100% correct. They might miss the code, they need a code in it, but presumably they do it the same way. No one ever told them to do it differently. So it'll be no different. It'll come up in the other category, but we would have that data. So that's actually a case where there's going to be data. So yeah, whether we combine the sentences together or not, it's more the intention that I think I read the tools and processes as including things, and we have the overlap with downtown and MRAs. And so, this could be decluttered some, but I didn't particularly like the language, the new language. Adding the two together, I think, is better. It may have some similar issues of just having, because it sounds like you're just doing it through that process. And I think, and maybe we find out, oh, well, we're looking at lots of different things and we can't do them. We can't do land value tax. We can't do other changes that have been asked for, but it doesn't mean you can't look and say what they are. So I think it's, I don't know, but we've had a lot of discussion on this.
We have. And my suggestion is just to leave the original sentence.
And not put in the support?
Nope.
Yeah.
Leave the original sentence. I think I'm hearing that the discussion was good, that staff has heard it. So we're going to leave in the encourage retention, facilitate startup, and assist in opportunities. Does anybody object to that? Leave out the additional information that was suggested.
You'll be down to one sentence now? Just the
Just
first?
leaving the original, what was originally in there.
Nope. I like their changes. The support is, or something along those lines.
Create an environment where local businesses can thrive. That's, I don't know.
Who made this change? Is this Rin's change? Really, the local business? Sentence 2 is her change. I like that.
Oh, you're talking about combining the two? You prefer to combine the two? Or you
Well-
prefer the second sentence over the first sentence, the old first sentence? I'm not hearing a whole lot of support for the proposed new sentence, even with the changes that are up here.
I just think the second sentence, the one that was the proposed new sentence, is probably more realistic of what the county does. And you know, we've heard on numerous occasions we need improvement in that area.
But that can be done through what's written in the first sentence. It's just that it's a little more not as direct as the second sentence or the new sentence. Are y'all fading on me here? What do you want to do with this one? Since I'm not hearing kind of this unanimous support for the new proposed sentence, even as modified, I'm suggesting we leave it as is,
Why can't you have both sentences?
combined.
I don't know if you combine them or you just have two different sentences.
Everything else has one sentence, but
Oh.
that would just be inconsistent. But I mean, that doesn't mean we can't do it. Counselor Herman and Counselor Rigor. Thoughts?
I think at least the original sentence shows that we're trying to help. The second one, the proposed new one, just is how they engage with us. Both are important, I guess, but and I think Counselor Haveman is right that at the top of the under economic vitality, it does say that's what all of this is meant to do, to try and help the community so that the local economy flourishes. But I guess I like the idea of leaving the original sentence better than having the second one.
Or trying to combine them.
Yeah. But I do understand from staff's perspective, it's kind of loose, I guess.
Well, so staff's going to present at some point in the near future, kind of the 3 to 5 things that they expect to accomplish under each of these. So based on the discussion tonight, I think that makes it a little bit clearer what we might expect.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, leave as is. So under downtown revitalization, the reason why we took out in accordance with downtown master plans is because we also have the MRAs. I was going to add and MRAs, but we just decided to take out in accordance with the downtown master plans instead of getting into a lot of detail. Any concerns about that? Okay. And then did some wordsmithing on the tourism and special events. Well, we already had done that at our planning session. I think this came from someone's comments. So we tried to add this in. So it's and encouraging local business support and increasing capacity for overnight stays. So it's not just trying to fill up our existing hotels. It's looking at expanding where people can stay potentially. It has a little different meaning. Okay. All right. Anything else under economic vitality?
Yes, Chair Cole.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm going back to the first one under local business. When you said let's keep it as is, I thought you I thought I heard you say as it was, so that the first sentence is going to remain and the second sentence is going to be deleted.
Correct.
Okay, I just wanted to see that get done, so make sure we don't have any miscommunication. It's kind of when you see it, then it helps helps each of us say, okay, I guess I can live with that. And I'm
Sure.
okay with that.
Oh, it won't.
Oh, it wants you to retype. Okay. I guess while she's typing, I really like the point that I think when staff comes back with it to us with what they're going to do under each objective, that's where we're going to see the established tools and processes that are clear, yada, yada, yada. Because I think, again, that's getting into the how versus kind of the higher level objective set by us.
Are you okay with her leaving ...
Absolutely, if everybody else is. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, can we move on to quality of life? There was just one item on there. Instead of improving access, we're going to expand access. Any other items that y'all want to see changed on that? Okay, then we had a bunch of changes that were discussed during the planning session under environmental stewardship, and it was an intent to kind of broaden and refer to the climate action plan, I think. Any concerns about any of that? Or any additional changes on this? Go ahead, Councilor Righty.
I think the only comment is that the climate resiliency is not addressed in the climate action plan. So it doesn't imply it is, but there is no roadmap for that.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily say that we don't actually pull out the climate action plan in that statement, but
Yeah, I mean,
we're probably going
it's
to,
fine that we don't, but there is no, but that's what I'm recalling. It was minimal to nothing was in there because that wasn't their focus. That was in fact one of the comments that people had about it. You should talk a lot more about resiliency and adaptation.
okay.
Madam Chair, if I recall the strategic plan, this was actually a statement out of the strategic plan. So
Excuse me.
I think it did refer to it. It just didn't go very in depth. What I was going to say is, I don't know if you need in Los Alamos County. I think this whole plan is for county, but it's up to you if you think that's
good point.
important.
You mean, did you mean the climate action plan? Or you said the strategic plan?
I meant climate action plan.
Yeah, okay. So are you all okay taking out in Los Alamos County? What's that? Add it to every other one instead, taking it, yeah, no, let's take it out. The last, anything else on environmental stewardship? And the last thing is just updates to the plans, that we didn't discuss during the meeting, but we asked for, I can't remember who went back in and, deleted the ones that no longer exist and updated where we are now. All right. So, I'm going to just go through this really quickly. We're going to, under the strategic leadership plan introduction, we're going to, add something on core versus non-core and some of the process of, that we went through for the planning process. I know I just used process twice, sorry. Under quality governance, under fiscal stewardship, well, first we're going to take out partnership. We're going to put that into the title of the intergovernmental, tribal, and regional relations and partnerships. And we're going to add, since community partner organizations is already in there, we'll take out the proposed partnership sentence. And then under fiscal stewardship, we're going to take out maintain fiscal sustainability, and we're going to include at the beginning, wait, it's actually written up there. So those changes. And then under operational excellence, we're going to remove through sound fiscal management because or financial management, since we just addressed that. Under economic vitality, we're gonna leave in the original sentence under local business, and we're okay with the other changes. And then I don't see any changes under quality of life. And then just under environmental stewardship, we'll get rid of in Los Alamos County under climate action and resiliency. Otherwise, all the other changes were good, right? Yes, Manager Laurent?
Madam Chair, I apologize. For the suggested motion, it would obviously be as amended. I think Ms. Madison captured all the changes with only one exception, which is some
intro.
core, non-core. So you might want to say as amended and with the chair author, adding non-core to the introduction or something like that.
Okay. And added changes to the introduction or something like that. All right. Is there any public comment on this? I don't see anybody in the room. Is there anyone online? Ms. Madison?
If you'd like to make public comment, please raise your hand. Chair, I'm not seeing any hands raised.
Do I have a counselor that wants to try to make a motion? Wants to make a motion, sorry. Counselor Righty?
Okay, Chair, I move that council adopt the revised 2026 Strategic Leadership Plan, included as attachment A, with the chair also making some changes to the introduction regarding core, non-core.
Do we need to say as amended? Before you,
I thought I said amended.
oh, did you? I don't think you did.
I said
I
revised.
didn't hear that.
Okay,
Want to try it again?
I'll restate it then.
Okay.
I move the council adopt the 2026 Strategic Leadership Plan, included as attachment A, and amended tonight, with the chair also to make changes to the introduction based on core, non-core.
Second.
So I have a motion from Counselor Righty and a second from Counselor Hand. Any discussion? Not seeing any. Oh, go ahead, Counselor Rigor.
Yeah, I think we need to say something stronger about small business, and that's not in here. I'm not happy with that.
Okay. Can we go ahead and have any other discussion? Could we have a roll call, please?
Counselor Neil Clinton,
Yes.
Counselor Hand,
Yes.
Counselor Herman,
Yes.
Counselor Righty,
Yes.
Counselor Rigor,
No.
Counselor Haveman,
Yes.
Chair Cole.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-1.
All right, let the record show the motion passed 6-1 with Counselor Rigor opposed. All right, are you all okay continuing to push forward? I think we can be done here in a little bit. Now we're on to item B, appointments. I don't think we have anything there. Board and commission vacancy report. There is a report included with the agenda package. Generally, we're looking pretty good. We filled a couple of vacancies tonight under our consent agenda. Do we have any board and commission liaison reports tonight? Counselor Righty?
Thank you, Chair. So I just wanted to mention, I went to the personnel board last week, and Manager Tapia, of course, is retiring. So that was her last personnel board meeting. And the board they have very efficient meetings when they do meet. So I think I was like 3 minutes late. I missed half the items on the agenda. They approved their draft 2026 work plan, which is one of the more straightforward ones. So they're ready for that for council review. The other thing is that we still do have 2 vacancies, I believe, for the Health Council. And there might be one other person that might be interviewed soon for that. And I know this isn't a board or commission, but I wanted to mention that, so last Friday, there was the New Mexico Self-Insurers Fund Board of Trustees meeting. And it's relevant because we passed a resolution that related to 2513 that related to law enforcement liability discount. And members are required to use Lexipol, which is a service of provide for policies, so the policies are up to date. And I think that we have a method that might be equivalent. And so I just want to mention it so that council and the manager was aware that that's something we need to request that they review our procedure regarding policies and sound like we could most likely get the discount. I don't know how much Lexipol, I don't think it costs much, but if it's redundant, there's no reason to have it. And then we also had our FY27 rates for them. And our rates went up very minimally. I guess partly because we're not in the workers' compensation pool. So anyway, so that might have been a good decision. We'll see later on. But so I would report that tonight. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, since we don't have a work session until next year, if you have external entities reports, you can go ahead and include that under board and commission reports. Any other reports, Councilor Rigor?
Yes, the Historic Preservation Advisory Board has been talking about a cultural resource management plan or manager and getting an inventory of all of the things we have. And I thought some of that was already in place. So I was a little bit wondering if everybody there was on board with the maybe all of the things have been done in the past. Also, we had a tour of the Women's Dorm, and we had there's a new initiative to commemorate the black hole, which I'm not saying one way or another about it. That's what they're talking about. And also, a lot of people are still dissatisfied with the signage, leading people through town who come to visit the historic buildings. And then we also had a couple of meetings of Parks and Rec Board. The major one was a special session on Brewer Arena and talking about all of those, all of the issues that went around that. So we'll talk about more about that in the future. I also wanted to talk about some external interactions, but that'll be in another meeting.
There's not really another opportunity to do it. So
yeah. So I went to the 232 Coalition meeting in Pagosa Springs, which was really about all kinds of different entities and government agencies that include tribes and the Forest Service and Park Service and BLM and a bunch of big ranches. And then also there were users from downstream, which is really mostly people in New Mexico that are all in that water area. And it was just about how everything with the forest quality, the appropriate management of a forest, the appropriate management of the forest keeps the fires down and then allows you to keep the watershed alive. So it was really interesting discussion and a great thing for everybody to do. And we don't take water out of that right now, but it seemed very important to New Mexico and our neighbors. And it's and that's it. Thank you.
And that was before the big flood up there too, right?
Well, they had a drought all summer, and then they had this meeting about droughts, and then of course it's poured,
and they huge flood
streets and
yeah. Thank you. Other reports from councilors? Councilor Herman?
Thank you, Chair. Councilors Righty and Rigor and I met with the Main Street Futures yesterday, and it was basically talking, it was kind of a mini retreat, talking about their accreditation planning. The accreditation meeting is later this month on the 21st. So we went through the components of the accreditation and that kind of thing. And that was about it.
All right, thank you. Other reports from counselors? All right, anything from county manager tonight?
Thank you, Chair. Just very briefly, there was a press release that went out slightly prematurely about the opening of the ice rink. We have the new, and so we're going to be reissuing a new press release with more information. So it didn't create so many questions. But with our new chiller, there was a piece that shorted. It almost caught on fire. We caught it. They're being replaced. And we just need two. So it's the new parts coming in. We're going to start making ice, I think, next week, but it does take 2 weeks to make the ice. So just want to give a little more information on that press release of it was about the startup of the new chiller and the new equipment.
Thank you. Council chair report. I didn't report the last time, but I'm just glancing at what I would have reported. The Regional Estate Working Group took a tour of Espanola on October 17th, which Ms. Duran arranged for us. It was very informative. Also, I attended some ribbon cuttings for the North Mesa pickleball courts and a tennis court up there. Really nice. And the East Park basketball court, which is really nice. I'm sure Councilor Righty will be checking that out pretty soon. And then I attended a Northern New Mexico housing luncheon on October 30th with Councilor Herman and Mr. Osborne. It was mostly just to hear all of the different housing activities that are going on in the region. I met with Councilor Righty and Ms. Madison as a council working group to discuss the elected officials' salaries, and we'll be bringing back some proposals at our 11/18 meeting. Attended the employee lunch and Halloween party on October 31st, which was a lot of fun. And then met with the state and regional working group and Danielle Duran to discuss state priorities, and we'll be bringing those back on the 18th. And then yesterday attended the Welcoming County presentation, which Ms. Laurent provided to the State Transportation Infrastructure Interim Committee here in Los Alamos. Senator Gonzalez convinced them to come up here and have their meeting here. So that's all I have from my list. Any counselor expenses that we need to approve tonight? Okay. Preview of upcoming agenda items. I do want to let the counselors know we're going to cancel the special meeting with the schools on December 10th, I think. We are going to have some discussion with the schools at our lunch on, when was it? It was the 10th? 9th, okay. And we're going to have use the luncheon meeting on November 20th to discuss kind of where we want to go. Superintendent felt like it would be better to wait until we had the new folks on board, which will probably be more like a February before we're ready to discuss that. So you have a free day, a free night. Anything anyone else wanted to point out on the tickler that hasn't already been pointed out? November 18th should be a nice packed meeting, so come prepared. And any final counselor comments? Not seeing any, so unless somebody objects, we are adjourned.